recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another Monday edition of Mailbag with Mike Chioda. Mike, we are in April. WrestleMania season is upon us. How are you doing, man?
Man, real good, Paul. How you doing, brother? Good to see you again, Paul.
Always good to see you, Mike, and I'm doing well. Always excited for these shows. Lots of fun questions came in again, and I know you've been busy, though. Enjoying that sunshine down there in Florida?
That's it, man. We got a cold front coming in, though. A cold front came through. It's been about 50 at night. A little chilly, but...
Oh, my heart bleeds for you, pal.
Bless Florida, though, man.
I'm in the Northeast, so 50,
It's a sunny day.
That's right, buddy. But no, that's good, man. You deserve to enjoy some of this free time that you have off,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Enjoying a lot of it, man. That's it. Be going to Miami, be going to the Keys soon, so gonna love it.
Sounds like a blast. Well, listen, let's jump into it this week. Get into the questions. I know you have another interview you're doing after this. Every time I turn around, I see we have Mike Chioda on. We have Mike Chioda on with us. You're popular. You are a rock star.
Yeah, right. Yeah, doing one for the UK coming up, though, so it's cool.
There you go.
Did a couple last week for the United Kingdom. Pretty awesome chaps out there, so it's been good. So
it speaks to you as a storyteller. People are really enjoying it and digging it, and this is one of their favorite shows on Ad Free. So let's get it started. We'll go with Jeff Fisher, who said, "Thank you for the continued great work with the show, Mike. What would be the most amazing display of strength you have ever seen during a match?"
Oof, that's a good question, Jeff. I'd have to say John Cena's one of them, man. Like picking up Big Show. Sometimes for that F5, oof. Brock Lesnar, unbelievable strength in the ring. Yeah, John Cena. Back in the day, there was a lot of big guys too that had unbelievable strength. And it was guys like Tugboat, Earthquake, big guys, man. I mean, really unbelievable strength. Rick Rude had some unbelievable strength. That guy was always chiseled, in great shape.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot. I'd say. Great strength. Yeah, it's top of the line. It's like Brock, John Cena. He can squat, boy. He can squat some pounds. And when you can pick up Big Show like that, I've seen Brock and John Cena do it. That's pretty powerful stuff,
You talk about, as soon as you said John Cena, I thought of him picking up Big Show. I mean, it was so impressive. I think he tried to, didn't he have one where he had Big Show and maybe Edge on top of it too? That triple threat.
Yes, he did too.
He's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. I've seen him do some things with squatting and just picking up some pounds. Boy, it's been unbelievable. When he's on his knees and he picks up a guy too, straight up from a bear hug or something, and he just gets up on one and the other leg, and it's a lot of power. Cena's got a lot of power.
Yeah, and Lesnar, he throws guys around like rag dolls. So.
Oh, Suplex City, bitch.
There you go. I love it. Jeff Fisher goes on to say, any memories from shows or travels in Tennessee, particularly the Chattanooga area?
Chattanooga, we used to do that college there all the time, I believe, in Chattanooga. But a lot of good times in Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, Nashville, Memphis. I'd say that's just a lot of history with, Jerry the King Lawler and wrestling in that area, and just all the talent that came from Nashville and the Tennessee area. Tennessee was always a great place. Always a good time, Southern food, and good times in Nashville, man. Late nights. We used to go to this place called the Bullpen or Stockyard. And I remember even when Andre used to go there, and years ago, it's like a steakhouse, and it was good food and good drinks, and it was a great place, man. Great place.
You're starting again on the food already, Mike. You're killing me.
It was, though, man. They had great steaks. Jack Daniels was everywhere.
Wow.
I remember Taker and everybody. We all used to go there. It was called, I believe, the Bullpen or the Stockyard or something. Years and years, many years ago.
You've been so many places. There's no question why, they all blend together. But that sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, we used to party hard there at that place. I remember that. So,
all right,
Nashville was just great.
Go check it out. Yeah,
definitely country music and jazz and all that other stuff. So, But it's a booming town now, Nashville. I hear a lot of people are moving there. A lot
It
of the
is.
boys, a lot of the wrestlers I heard are moving over there and everything. So
Yeah, that's where I believe Miro, or as WWE, Rusev and Lana live in Nashville area, and I'm sure there
right,
are others.
yeah, they moved there a few years ago. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's keep it moving. Thunderstruck, he's up again this week, says, if Mike was a part of the creative team, what things would have he changed to ensure that the Brawl for All was a concept that ultimately got over?
Oof, I don't know. That's a good question. The Brawl for All. I don't really even remember that. What was
Remember,
that match again?
they decided to try to turn the wrestlers real and have them box. They would box each
Oh,
other, and it was a
oh,
tournament.
that torn. Yeah, the Brawl for All. That's when Bart Gunn kind of
Yes.
took it all the way to. Yeah, I remember. I wish Bart would have won that whole thing, man. God, but I mean, I kind of like that concept because it was a shoot. It was a shoot to where it was at the end when Butterbean. I really thought that Bart might have done the job for Butterbean.
Mm,
Because I mean, Bart was knocking out everybody, Dr. Death, everybody wasn't. I
yes.
mean, oh my God! I mean, I used to travel with Bart a lot. He's a big guy, boy, and he had an unbelievable punch, man. He was a strong dude.
Any fun stories of Bart? You say you travel with him. I can
Oof.
imagine maybe something fun.
Yeah, there were so many stories. There's many stories with Bart Gunn.
I see the big
he,
smile on the
he
face.
was he was with me when I got my head shaved and at the bar one night, telling they're after us, Chioda, they're after us. We were in Germany in Europe, and it was I think it was Bulldog and who was honest. They were honest. Me, Bart, and he kept telling me we got to get back to the room. We got to get back to the room. But many good times in Israel with Bart and everything. We had a lot of good times. We used to play cards, play gin a lot in the
Oh, okay.
backstage, play for money and all that. So, and we used to play late at nights till 4 or 5 in the morning in the hotel room. But used to do a lot of traveling, a lot of partying. Bart Gunn, good guy, man. Miss him.
Yeah, yeah. They did the Dark Side of the Ring on Brawl for All, and they
Yeah.
got to interview Bart, who I haven't seen in a long time. So they did a really nice job on that, as they do with all the topics they cover.
I kind of like that. We went into that little boxing mode, and you brought Butterbean. He was something at that time too. So I think it drew pretty well. It actually did pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of folks are critical of it now just because you were putting wrestlers in there, injuries that were
Might have
caused by
occurred,
that and stuff like that.
right?
So I know Jim Ross was not a big fan of it.
Yeah, that's I know, but it was something different.
Yeah,
Kind of
just trying something, right?
trying something different. It's just it's almost like you're bringing an MMA fighter now into wrestling, and you make that transition from an MMA fighter or collegiate wrestler. You just tried something different. So it was something different. It caught all the boys' attention in the back, though, because they wanted to know who was going to win that fight, because it was a shootout.
Yeah.
And it was bonuses given out too. So as more you advanced, I remember Bart was getting more and more as he advanced to Butterbean.
There you go. All right. Levi Ward is up next. Do you think referees deserve to be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's why not? You put people that don't even have anything to do with wrestling. They could be like a Hollywood star or somebody else or a comedian or something and it's just it's sad not to see the referees in the Hall of Fame of wrestling. Because it takes three to tango, and I'm not saying it could be a referee that's been around for a couple of years or somebody that's put their time in and done many matches and so forth. And there's quite a few of us out there that have done a lot and done unbelievable, unforgettable matches in our careers. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you look at some other people that are getting inducted to the Hall of Fame of professional wrestling, and you go, God, the referees. And I've always said, like, why not start with Joey? Because I know Joey's a good friend of mine, but he's done some unbelievable matches, like matches Andre and Hogan, Bulldog, and Bret the Hitman Hart, and so forth. And I mean, he's done a lot of top matches back in the day. And I just, it should start from way back, whether it's Dick Worley to Joey to Earl Hebner to whatever. But yeah, I think we should get a shot once in a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, Levi went on to say exactly what you said. Before listening to your podcast, I never realized how much the refs actually do. I mean, in terms of just not only refereeing, but making the whole thing work, whether it's putting the ring together and, driving those trucks from city to city, all those little things add up. And then the performance and what you do, because what you do truly is
It's true.
a performance in the ring as well. So,
Yeah, it's a lot more than just refereeing, and usually you have to pay dues, with that ring crew stuff, and it's not easy. And there's some referees now that never really pay dues,
yeah.
on a ring crew or something like that. But it's I like to see it someday. Hopefully it comes around. I know it's not going to happen this year, so
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything this year. So we'll see about next year.
That's right. Levi went on to say, really enjoying the show, Mike. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Levi. I know, Mike, you
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you
that.
very much. I appreciate that, Levi. Thank you.
All right. Edward Ring. I want to thank Mr. Chioda. I met him late last year in Queens, New York, and he was very welcoming and cordial. My question is, have you ever had to relieve yourself while roughing a match?
Oh, yeah. Went right under the ring and came right back up.
Wow. Is that real? Are you messing with me?
No, that happened one time, though. It did. It did.
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Got to do it. You got to take the leak. Got to do it, man. I mean, but hey, sometimes I feel bad for the camera guys when they're out there for 4 or 5 hours straight shooting, like Rico and Marty Miller back in the day and everything. They used to go under the ring and have urinals sometimes because especially when you're doing like pay-per-views like WrestleMania for hours and hours. They didn't have like alternate camera guys that would take over. They would have to be out there for hours, so.
Do they do that now? Do they have alternate guys that can jump in and tag out for the big shows?
I don't know. Maybe they are, but
sounds like a great idea though. If I'm a cameraman,
right? But that's them guys get paid a lot too, so it costs a lot of money to do something like that. So and them guys get overtime too when they hit so many hours. Those camera guys.
Interesting. Okay.
They're almost like a union.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense then. So yeah, go before and then you can hold it, pal.
That's right.
Did you
for the overtime pay?
That's right. Make that OT. Edward would also ask, did you speak to Earl Hebner after Survivor Series 97? What was his mindset, and did you understand why he did what he did?
We knew why he did it. He was put in a very hard situation. He had to feed his family. If he didn't do what he was told, he wouldn't have a job. It's a very hard situation. You have the boss out there telling you what to do. He knew what he had to do beforehand. He knew what he had to do beforehand before he went in the ring. He just didn't know. I don't think he knew exactly when it was coming, but I'm pretty sure he did, because as soon as that sharpshooter got put on him, and Sean put that sharpshooter on, and then he couldn't even put it on right. I think he didn't even get it locked in right.
It was very quick.
It was very quick. And Vince is out there screaming, "Ring the bell, ring the bell." So he was put in a very tough situation. So I might have had to done the same thing.
I was going to ask, Mike, would you have done the same thing if they approached you? I'm sure you probably would have had to, right?
You'd have had to. I mean, my career would have been done. I mean, and look at it. It went on for another 20 something more years after that. So, I mean, you got to do what the company's telling you. And I always thought, if I did that match, Paul, if I did do that match, all I would have had to say to change history is don't get into that sharpshooter, Brett. And he would have knew exactly what the hell I was talking about. So, I mean, I would have changed history. I always think about that, man. If I was ever in that ring, all I had to say is one thing: don't get into that sharpshooter.
As long as Sean didn't hear you, because then he could expose you later.
Well, of course, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You'd say it. You'd say it when they're in the corners or somewhere separated, or
right.
Past the thing.
Could you imagine how that would have changed? That would have, just you with those few words would have changed wrestling history.
Yeah, I mean, and if you notice, like in the beginning, if you watch that, there's a big schmoz for like 10 minutes almost outside the ring, and there was all these refs, and a few refs had to take a bump, and I never got bumped because I was supposed to run out during that match. Well, that's what I was told. So everybody was told something a little bit different,
Yeah.
So it was just amazing amazing night. And I feel bad for Brett. I know he went on to make money at WCW, but he didn't he didn't last long there and
Right.
whatever, but not to finish his career. And he gave 14, I believe about 14, 15 hard years of his life. Because when I remember I first started there full time again, he was over like a son of a gun all over Germany. He was making money for the company.
He wasn't a part-time guy either, to your point. He wrestled house shows. He wrestled everywhere all the time.
No, he did,
Yeah.
There's actually let me see if I can tweak this down a little bit. If you get this one right here, that's from Cape Town, South Africa. That was Brett and Undertaker.
Can you point at it, Mike?
Right?
No, I mean point at it like on your wall.
Yeah, right.
Okay, gotcha. Middle one. Yep, Cape. Yep.
That one right there. That was Brett and Undertaker in '97. That was a few months. That was some months before this whole thing went down. And he was working with Taker, title matches and everything. Him and Taker were getting along so good. They were drawing money big. We were drawing big money in South Africa everywhere. And it was sad to see Brett end his career and going into that Montreal screw job, man. It was just it was sad because he never really revived his career after that.
Yeah. No, you're right. And when you think about the ultimate, especially at the level of the world title scene, to have that happen for a world champion, it just became, it's one of those historical moments in wrestling that everybody, thinks about, talks about. Speaking of which, this is a nice transition. Ural Cook has a question about the screw job. What was the mood like backstage with the boys and crew the night after the Montreal screw job? We've heard from Bruce and JR, but they wouldn't have been considered one of the boys at the time. What were the conversations really like?
They were tense. It was just, you didn't say much. You couldn't believe it. Certain people were for Brett. Certain people couldn't believe what happened. It was just, everybody looked around and said, this can happen to anybody. Tough situations, tough things to, it was tough to talk about because they still had, Owen was still around for a while and it was just a lot of tension. A lot of tension.
Was there a lot of whispering though going around the locker room?
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
Whispering, talking about it and this and that. And,
like, what do we do? Should we go to WCW or we just got to eat and just suck it up and run with it?
No, it's just certain guys, like I'm sure, I know Owen didn't want to be there for any more time. I'm sure he wanted to go with Brett, but he probably couldn't get out of his contract. Bulldog probably couldn't get out of his contract.
Right.
It was just a lot of tension, a lot of hate. And, some people say that all was a setup. And I don't believe that one bit,
Did you feel like you've mentioned it a lot here. You go out after wrestling events and you are at the bar area and things of that nature. Were there talks more around the bar for the next few weeks in those scenarios, I guess?
Right. Well, we talked about it, everybody, but we couldn't believe what happened. A lot of people felt bad because they could see somebody that was running the company, drawing the company big money. Brett was a good family guy, never a loud guy, very quiet, cool, calm, collective guy. And good family man and everything. And it was just sad to see him go like that, and just a lot of whispering and it just, but it fades out after a while. It fades, and then he was on WCW. So it was like, well, he's making his money, at least he's, but it didn't last long there.
All right. Ural would go on to ask, can you give us a rundown of what it was like being in the ring with Tyson and Austin during that famous pull apart in 1998?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool being there with Mike Tyson, man. It was, he was a cool cat, man. He was totally into wrestling. And I think I've said this before, I remember he came up to me and he was like, hey, Mike Chioda, how you doing? I was like, oh shit, you know my name, Mike? I'm like, hey man, nice to meet you, Mike. I'm like, you're a legend already. He was a badass dude in the ring, man. He came and started doing that whole thing with us. It was just, it was cool to have Mike Tyson aboard. He really respected wrestling, loved wrestling, and he was a big fan of it. So it was cool. And I couldn't believe he knew my name. So that's when they used to say your name on TV. So
Instead of the official. Right?
Yeah, that's it. So,
You know, it's something though that was such a red hot period in wrestling, and
yeah.
you can imagine being in the ring trying to pull them apart. Jim Ross is going crazy. You know, as we're watching at home on TV, you can just imagine the energy in the building.
There was like 40 people in the ring. You know, it's like
all hell breaking loose.
Yeah, all hell breaking loose.
Good stuff. All right, up next, RJ Krasinski. He said, I recently saw a video of Daniel Bryan ribbing William Regal in Liverpool by playing Real Man's Man theme in the middle of his actual theme at the time. I noticed you as the referee. Do you remember this, and or any other times guys got ribbed in the ring?
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of remember that. I remember because Daniel Bryan's not a ribber, really. You know, he jokes around and stuff, but he's not like a hardcore ribber.
Yeah.
Regal's a pretty serious guy, and especially when you're in Liverpool or if you're in his hometown or anything like that. If you're in the UK, boy, he takes it serious, definitely, you know. But yeah, I mean, Regal, you know, he knew Daniel Bryan was just joking around, so it was nothing like, you know, he was pissed off or anything like that, you know. So, but it was some fun times. And there's always a lot of ribs going on in the ring, especially live events, not on TV, but you know, definitely at the live events, there's a lot of ribs going on.
I'm sure. Yeah. When it's again, if house shows ever come back, go to a house show. That's where all the real fun is. I'm telling you,
it is.
The wrestlers can let their hair down and be themselves.
They just have fun. They work with the crowd. They play to the crowd. It's just, you know, more or less, you know, that's a thing that you don't see on TV too much anymore. I mean, not just because of the pandemic, but even on TV, you know, they don't give the guys time to really get the crowd into it and react to the crowd a lot. You know, like more live events, you can have more fun, get out of the ring as a heel and get the crowd hot, you know, and then the baby face will come after him, boom, bounce him around if he's jaw jacking with some kid, and he'll bounce him around in front of the kid, make the kid slap him or do something like that. I mean, it's just like little stuff like that, just so much fun.
The fan interaction is next level, and I was privileged enough to take my son to a show in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and got front row, and it is amazing how many wrestlers, when they're done, would just walk around the entire front rows, you know, the whole way around the ring, and clap hands and take pictures and interact with fans. It was so cool.
And you know, the old Hershey Park Arena with the amusement park, the old arena there, that used to be a lot of fun too. That was a really good, just a wrestling crowd and a wrestling arena there. We used to have a lot of fun.
A lot of history in Hershey, Allentown, this whole area.
Oh, Allentown, yep. Scranton, Pennsylvania, all that. Mm-hmm.
Yep, very good. All right, RJ would go on to ask, during the Savio Vega and Steve Austin In Your House Beware a Dog in a strap match, the lights went out. As a referee, how did you adapt to something that wasn't supposed to happen or not planned for?
Well, you got to talk to the boys and say, look, the power's out. You know, they separate. You know, when the power goes out, something like that, they'll get to the floor and they'll just, you know, just separate and stuff like that. And we'll just find out what's going on. And I mean, you know, when something like that happens, you just got to adjust and you just got to wait. And hopefully the power comes back on. That's it.
Yeah, right.
You're not having no wrestling match with no power. That's for sure.
I mean, just unbelievable circumstance, especially live on pay-per-view, something like that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that, when that happens, that's when Vince gets hot. You know, you want to get somebody hot during a pay-per-view, in your house pay-per-view and all that. Ooh, I remember when some things used to go wrong. They used to be worried years ago. And I remember this is the third and the fourth WrestleMania. I believe 3 and 4 with Atlantic City. And I remember 3.
4 and 5.
4 and 5, I'm sorry.
Yep.
4, because 4, I had to sit there. I did the crew stuff too as well. I was doing crew, and I had to sit there and sit in this truck with the satellite dish, right? And guard the truck because they were scared somebody was going to mess with the satellite dishes. You know, the opposition, other, you know, like I think it was WC, or it was back in the day, they were worried about Turner's network messing with the, you know, the satellite dish. And I was like, yeah, I'd be kidding. I sit there from like midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. Straight out in front of me was a strip club. I used to see all this crazy stuff going.
Yeah.
And I remember like when I'd be there at 1, 2 in the morning, they were open till real late. Atlantic City strip clubs. I used to be like, all right, I'll just go there for an hour or two and I'll
Right,
come
kill
back.
time. Yeah.
Nah, nobody will. Nah, I can't do it. I'd walk there. Nah, I better get back to the truck.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, I did get to eventually go to the strip club though. Eventually, one night, but
I'm sure you
not when I
figured
was,
it out. Yeah,
not when I was guarding the satellite dish.
that's right. Oh, that's good stuff. All right, Ryan Purvis up next. Is there any way for the Punjabi prison match to be entertaining?
um, it was pretty entertaining. I remember he worked with Randy Orton on it. He did a match with Randy Orton, and I remember Randy and him had a hell of a match. I did that match that night. Yeah, Randy, that was entertaining to me. That one match, I know he was the Punjabi prison, and Randy Orton were Khali was,
It just blows my mind the amount of time it looks like to put a structure like that together.
yeah. I mean,
Unreal.
I remember he had him in like some kind of a choke, and I remember Randy was like holding on to his arm, and he had him in a choke through the Punjabi cage, through the cage. And Randy was like, oh man, he actually thought he was almost losing it. And he was about a good 10 to 15 feet up, like 10, 12 feet up in the air. And I remember he almost lost it, and Randy wanted to grab him in the cage or something.
That's
But
scary.
yeah, it was, but that was one hell of a match, which we didn't think was going to be that good between the way Khali works, very slow, very, but Randy was a methodical wrestler too. And he's a very slow, methodical, mechanical wrestler. But yeah, it was a good match though. I enjoyed that.
You have the refs that work on the ring. They're part of the ring crew, help put the ring together. What about a
Yeah.
Punjabi prison? Anybody get involved with stuff like that?
No, like we used to set up the steel cages, and we used to set up the old school ones with just the square cylinders, and then the fence cage came in, all that. But that kind of a cage and the Hell in a Cell was built, by the guys back in Connecticut who built the ring and stuff. So his name was Mark Carpenter. So and they used to just build these phenomenal cages. Those two cages, the Hell in a Cell, and them. But the other cages we used to set up all the time.
Yeah.
As a ring crew.
Okay. Ryan goes on to ask, do you ever have the opportunity, or did you ever have the opportunity to be a manager? Seems to me that you could have been a solid one.
Man, I would have loved to have that opportunity. Yeah. I never had the opportunity, but yeah, I would, if I had the opportunity, yeah, it would be great. I would definitely, I'd have to step on my game. That's for sure.
There you go. Money Mike Chioda. There we go.
Yeah. Money Mailbag.
There you go. What was the conversation like during the LOD Money Incorporated match at Wembley? Hawk was obviously intoxicated and could barely walk.
Yeah, that's when Joe taped my knee up that night.
Yes, that's right.
He taped my knee up that night. Yeah, Hawk was a great guy, man. He was definitely a partier. But that was a great time. That was actually my first big like live event, like as far as being on TV, and 82,000 people. It was just walking out there was just unbelievable. And I always remember that night too, when Undertaker's entrance was badass, That was really cool. And I was one of the druids up there holding.
Were you?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, we did a bunch of things. The refs, they put you in this. You'd be a doctor one day. You'd be this.
A druid the next. Whatever they needed you for.
That's it. But that was a really cool show, man. I remember that show just went off the charts. And then, of course, our man Brett closed it out with the Bulldog that night and had a hell of a 40-something minute match. And Joey Morello was the referee.
There
So
you
yeah,
go.
that was one of my most memorable times because it was my first biggest show with 82,000 people in the ring doing as a referee.
He talks about Hawk being intoxicated. Do you remember that specifically when you were refereeing that match?
I don't think he might have been hungover, but he wasn't intoxicated in the ring.
Yeah. I think they've gone on to say when they did the Road Warriors or the Legion of Doom Road Warriors, Dark Side of the Ring, that he was having some problems back then.
Oh, was he? Yeah. Well, back then he was. He was. God bless him, man.
But nothing that stood out to you that you had to get involved or do anything with him.
No, not at all. Because yeah, I mean, whether it was, whatever it was, pills or whatever it was, I don't think he was intoxicated with alcohol.
Okay.
But yeah, he was going through some problems. But Mike was a great guy, man. I mean, I liked him a lot. And I remember his time in Guam. He lost his jewelry. We wound up going to Guam somewhere with Haku, and we wound up getting all new jewelry and stuff. He got me a ring, real nice ring, and a bracelet for half price because he spent like 10 or 15 grand on all this new jewelry. And he was like, you like that, Chioda? I was like, yeah, brother, but I don't know. It's too much money. He was like, you give this to him for half price and give this to him for half price, or I'm taking my $15,000 somewhere else. We were in Guam. And they were like, okay, okay, okay. And it's nice bracelet.
Scared out of their wits.
And yeah, it was just nice. And Haku bought a nice ring. So everybody was spending all this money. And
It didn't turn your skin green or anything. It was the real
no,
deal.
it was the real deal, man. They
Nice.
delivered our jewelry to the hotel and everything. I actually still have that bracelet. I have to show it to you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, the Mediocre Warrior. He said, "You both are awesome. This is an amazing show. Thank you, Mediocre Warrior. We appreciate you. You're anything but mediocre to us." Yeah.
You're over with us, brother.
That's right. He's got some questions. He said, "What did you think of the Undertaker character when he first debuted? He legit creeped me out, and I was 18 at the time."
Yeah, I mean, his entrance was just phenomenal. It just grasped a lot of people. His entrance, his height, big dude. He used to play basketball in college. And Mark Calloway, man, real great dude. He's just a professional all the way around. I mean, it's amazing how he came into the business with not a lot of tats, and a lot of ink. And now he's all sleeved up and everything.
Yeah.
And, great guy, man. Miss that guy. Miss Undertaker, man. Mark's a good dude.
I just saw, and again, this is internet rumors, so who knows, but the plan is next year, WrestleMania in Dallas, right? Jerry's Palace, Jerry's World down there with the Cowboys. And rumors are already swirling that's when we could see The Undertaker enter the Hall of Fame. So we'll wait and see there.
Yeah, hopefully, right? That's coming soon.
In his home state, right?
Yeah.
He lived there in Texas for a while. So
that's the truth, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I actually got a poster with him, man. There's a nice poster I have. Haven't hung that one up yet, but it's an old one from like 1998, I believe, or something.
Okay.
When he first, I'll have to put up on a wall soon.
Nice. He would go on to ask here, Mediocre Warrior, were you ever the recipient of Mr. Socko? And if so, did Mick use the clean sock or the dirty one? You take the sock down the throat.
Mick never had a clean sock.
Yeah, we're talking Mick Foley here.
I love Mick, man. Great guy. But yeah, I don't think Tide was his favorite. Tide detergent wasn't his favorite back then.
Oh,
God bless him, because so many of the boys, they'd be like, Chioda. I remember some of the boys used to like buy socks for him because he'd be using the same socks at the live events all the time, putting that right down your throat, And I remember, I was definitely a part of it, thinking, oh my God, I wonder how old this sock is,
And how many other throats it's been down.
Oh my God, exactly. I remember the boys used to hate it. They'd be like, God damn it. I remember the boys used to bring socks and Mick go, no, that's not Mr. Socko. He's too clean.
That's
too
hysterical. Clean. I could see that totally. I love it.
Oh, the boys snap. That's a good one though.
All right. Bharat Sundarson is back, and he has a few questions here. He said, thanks, as always, Mike. You might not have received a standing ovation at Gorilla in your time, but I say with confidence that you get one from everyone who listens to you on ad-free shows.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you very much.
Very cool, Bharat. Yes.
That was really nice. Thank you.
You spoke about the dream meeting with Robert Plant and your love for rock music from that era. Was that a common theme amongst the boys in terms of, were they big fans of classic rock? Or were there a couple of them who would shock you with Britney Spears or Ricky Martin on their playlists? Not that there's anything wrong with pop music, by the way.
Right. No, right. I hear you. But no, a lot of them guys back in the day were they were just classic rock. A lot of them were classic rock, some heavy metal. Some were punk rock, and there was always like the oldies, like the old hip hop and the old rap stuff and stuff like that. Everybody would get into too, and all that. But a lot of guys were just definitely classic. I mean, when you used to go to Germany in certain places, and certain countries too, it'd be like heavy rock and heavy,
Heavy metal, yeah.
heavy metal, man, and I remember like even Brett, like in Germany, they loved his entrance music because it was just like guitar at first and tin, tin, tin,
Yeah,
tin,
the riff.
so, but yeah, it was more classic rock and stuff, and that was one of my most memorable moments, meeting Robert Plant in Birmingham, England. It's just,
Awesome.
it was just an awesome thing, man. Like being 12 years old, listening to Led Zeppelin, having all their albums and stuff like that. And then 10 years down the road or somewhat, you meet Robert Plant. It's like just, and it was one of my biggest idols, Robert Plant, that's for sure.
Were you or any of the other guys big time concert goers, or would try to get to a concert if they were traveling?
Yeah, I'll actually, you know what? I just, as I'm still putting my stuff together, I actually found all these concert tickets, man. I have about maybe over 100 concert tickets.
Wow.
I'm going to have to show them to you one day.
Yeah.
A lot of them, man. I mean, it was like from Elton John, the original band in the early 80s, the Rolling Stones in 1980, 81, just the Who, and this one, it just goes on and on. I mean, Ted Nugent was my first concert with Crocus and Blackfoot. It just, I, I seen so many concerts. That was one of my things when I came home off the road too. It was just, even before I started wrestling, I used to go to these concerts because in 1980, 81, I was 13, 14 years old. I was 14 years old, coming on 15. And yeah, I used to start going to concerts then. I seen the Grateful Dead about 25, 30 times.
Wow.
So, but I've seen some interesting bands, man, some real cool old school stuff.
Yeah, and I can imagine if it works out while you're on the road traveling, you try to sync up the schedule if you got a chance. If
Oh
wrestling
yeah.
wasn't doing something, go to a
Oh
concert.
yeah. Oh yeah. Go to a concert and as soon as you got home, hit Philadelphia and everywhere I'd hit like either the Meadowlands, Philadelphia, New York, certain places like that, and used to go see some concerts across the states too. So
There you go. Nice. All right. He goes on to ask, would you ever study tapes of a new wrestler whose match you need to referee in case you've never seen him before or seen him perform before for that matter, just to pick up on some cues?
no, not really. Like, either I've seen their performance before, or I've seen them work, and that's the thing too. Like that's why I always say, like a referee, you should ask each individual wrestler, hey, how do you want to work? How do you want me to work with you on this? How do can you work with me on that and the rules and this and that? And, because some guys would come into our company, and our company did a lot of different things with the rules. They really tried to really not bend the rules too much. So, and that's one thing that's a pet peeve with Vince. It was just, he wanted almost a referee to be a straight shooter,
Mm.
so, I mean, and the thing is just that you just gotta, you do your thing, you do your part. And then as you work with that talent, you get used to working with that talent. It's just, you're not really going to experience that talent until you work with him in the ring, because just watching it on TV and not reffing his match is just two different things. So just make sure you're out of his way if he's doing high spots, if he's flips and all that other stuff.
And I can imagine too, probably before he made his TV debut, he's worked a little bit on some live events or house shows where you've maybe gotten to work with him a bit.
Oh, of course, of
Yeah.
course.
All right. Let's see here. Did you have mixed feelings about the whole Exposed series on pro wrestling in the late '90s? They really broke the code. They, broke through the wall of kayfabe. On one hand, they revealed too much, but it also, in some ways, told the world how important a ref's role was in the ring. Thanks again, Mike and Paul. So, what do you think about that whole Exposed series that was on in the late '90s?
Well, they exposing the business, you mean, or
Yeah, they were kind of going behind the scenes and letting people know they had other wrestlers come on the show and kind of talk
what?
about, the tricks of the trade.
Yeah, I mean that was just that goes back even when Vince and Ted Turner like had uh their wars and stuff like that. And then Ted Turner and WCW put this big sign in front of Vince's office. And I remember Ted Turner was a big thing. And he called Vince. He said, hey, well, I'm in the professional wrestling business. And Vince said, oh, really? Well, that's fucking great because I'm in the entertainment business. And he hung up the phone supposedly. That's what the rumor was. And Vince always knew it was kind of entertainment. you know?
Yeah.
We went from, because he did make that transition, because there was World Wrestling Federation and then it was World Wrestling Entertainment, you know? So he made that transition. And I mean, it was kind of like, it kind of sucked in a way, because you just, you know, people really did not know whether wrestling was fake or real. You know, some people kind of know, oh, he really didn't hit him, but then it would second guess and go, oh my God, did he just hit him?
Right.
And then when they chop you and hit you with chairs, and people witness these chair shots at events, and they go, oh my God, like that was real, you know? So had so many mixed feelings.
Yeah, mixed signals there, if you will.
But I mean, I remember like some of these old school people, you know, old school people would be like just so into it, and they would think it was so real. You thought they would have a heart attack at the ringside.
Wow.
It's just amazing. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, you know, it's just it kind of stunk, because you kind of wanted people to really keep thinking.
Yeah, figure it out on their own. Don't try to help them.
Right. Don't expose it. But then it was just because it was just like, hey, we're entertainment.
Yeah.
And it's that. So, you know, yeah, it just kind of, you just make that transition. I mean, everybody knows it's entertainment, but it's very physical, and it takes these guys a lot they're very athletic. The endurance, the strength, it's just, you got to have all that still for being a professional wrestler.
Absolutely. All right. Eric Bowman says, great job, Mike. Did you ever see Haku fighting someone for real? Any good stories?
Yeah. Seen him take down a guy that was just big dude, and big dude. It was in, I think it was in, I want to say the Jaffa Mosque somewhere in Pennsylvania. It was somewhere out in Pennsylvania. And I think it was Johnstown, Pennsylvania,
okay,
or somewhere out there.
Yeah, that's not far from Pittsburgh.
That was many years ago, though, many years ago. And I seen him take down quite a few military guys in Japan.
Wow.
So yeah, I was in a bar one night, and it was just always the military wanted to fight the boys. It was just, they
wanted to either prove how tough they were or how tough wrestlers were not.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, and these guys are based there for months and months and months. And then, you know, when they got their certain bars, that's their certain bar, and that's their women in that bar, you know.
Totally
so
clear as crystal like, now.
You don't know how many places we went around the world, and they go, you military, you know, and they see some of the guys with long hair, and they look and they go, no, we're professional wrestlers, we're this, we're not, you know, they wouldn't even almost let us in, because they thought we were going to get drunk and ruin and wreck the place, you know, which sometimes the boys did, you know, but they're like, oh, you Americans, you know, like, oh, no, we're not letting you in. We can't let you in. You're too big. Some guys were too big. The bouncers were like, no way.
Right. They couldn't control them.
Wouldn't be able to control.
Yeah.
They knew if the stuff's got out of control. But
so the military boys did not like the wrestlers.
Well, I mean, in some parts, yeah, a lot of guys did, but when they were drunk, boy, they were.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're coming over for a show for, you know, the troops and all that, but otherwise, when you're out traveling and it's girls are on the line, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's the truth too, man. But you know, it's all the good fun, I guess.
Yeah. So Haku he was really, I mean,
he was a badass.
He was a badass. Yeah.
He was a badass dude, man. He knew jujitsu. It was either jujitsu or he knew some type of martial art too.
I bet. I mean, I can imagine. He was just, when he went on to become Meng in WCW, he got even bigger. And I'm like, this guy.
Right. Great guy too. Real good dude.
Good. All right. Jose Santiago is up next. He says, in 2018, when Carmella cashed in her Money in the Bank briefcase, were you thrown off by the cash in, or were you literally just having a moment? Thanks again for bringing the stories to life. So, Mike, I don't know if you got to check this one out, but she comes down with the briefcase, and you're kind of like, well, what are we doing here? What's going on?
A few reps were there, and then she grabs me and pulls me in. Yeah, that was all planned. That was all set up.
Because you really let it go for a little while. You know, it was fun.
And that was the plan. And that was the plan, to let it go for a while and just say, hey, you know, like, are you sure? Are you sure? And she's screaming,
Yes.
Yes. Like she really pulled it off that day, that night. So
That's when
good
she
for her.
pinned Charlotte, and the crowd
Yeah.
went wild for her
Wild. Yeah.
championship.
I mean,
Yeah.
good for her, man. She's a great gal. So, and it was good to see her get that moment of fame there, because that's a huge deal. I love that money in the cash. When you cash that bank, that briefcase, that was a huge pop.
It
It's a
was.
huge pop. And even if you failed, it was a huge pop. And then you go, oh.
How was it like working with talent like Charlotte, Carmella, some of
Great.
the girls, the women that are wrestling now, just phenomenal talents.
Great. Charlotte takes, God, she's generations of wrestling. And of course, Ric Flair, and she's a phenomenal worker, Charlotte. So enjoyed working with her very much all the time.
Yeah, I mean, between Sasha Banks, Bailey,
Yeah,
you
Sasha,
go on.
Bailey.
I mean, there's so many talented women now in the division.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I used to like that sensational Sherry back then.
I know she was your favorite.
She was one of my favorites, man. Rocket Robin, sensational Sherry. She was great, man. She can manage. She managed Shawn Michaels, and she did this.
Yeah, she sang his music. She wrestled. She did it all. She was crazy.
She would put the boys in her place, right in her place. I mean, she would just, she was
full of
badass.
piss and vinegar.
Yeah, a lot of piss and vinegar. That's for sure, Paul.
Yeah, it came through across the screen, man. You could see she's a handful.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's keep it moving this week. Tony Seegers, he says, every time I meet someone who is at WrestleMania 24, we always talk about Charles Robinson sprinting to the ring in the main event. Was any other ref considered for that spot? Do you have any thoughts on it? I can't even believe he could breathe after that long run to the ring.
His arms were like, I think, flying up there.
Yeah.
It was like trying to put the brakes on it. It was like he was like spreading out the airplane wings and stuff to try and slow himself down as he's coming to the ring because he was hauling butt.
He was, man.
Charles is a runner, man. Charles runs miles a day. Like
good for him.
3 miles, 5 miles, I think.
He listens, so he'll correct you. He'll tell you exactly how many miles. He listens to this show.
And love Charles. And so I mean, there was no other ref planned for that. He was the ref to do it. And then
could you imagine if you had to do that? Well, I mean, would we have needed to send oxygen? What would we have needed done, Mike?
Oh, brother, just worried about taking up. How many times you ran towards the ring as fast as you can? And then when you got to slow down to the ramp, you have to adjust sliding into the ring. And so many times you used to hit your knee on the frame or your shin or your knee right there trying to slide in. And because you're just going from fast to try and slow down, not trip, And I mean, but I think the best one ever was Titus.
I was literally getting ready to bring that up.
And I said, he just went right under the ring. And I went, oh, shit, that's pretty funny. I was planned there. Everybody's popping it. I'm going, and they're going, no, that wasn't planned. I'm like, what?
He literally tripped and just slid right under the ring head first.
And there's a frame. It's about, I want to say it's at least 2 feet wide, like a frame that goes across
like
the ring.
Like a 16 by, oh, okay, yeah.
There's a post. There's a centerpiece, not just in the middle of the ring. And from that, he just missed everything. I mean, if he would have hit that frame, he would have cracked his skull wide open.
People don't even think about that.
Oh my God, I did. I was like, oh my God, did he crack his skull open? Because then all of a sudden you see him come back out. It was like, what? I was like, oh, thank God. I mean, really, he could have got really hurt on that. But,
yeah, that jam his neck and head easily if it hits a post.
I don't know how he's so big. And I'm like, he's such a big dude. I'm thinking, how did he miss that frame? So thank God he did. But that was the most funniest thing I've ever seen in wrestling.
It really was. I mean, announcers, it's one of those lifetime bloopers you just can't get enough of.
Yeah, Charles didn't do that.
Yeah, right. Now he was smooth. He knew what he was doing, and he went right into the count.
That's right. That's right. Old school veteran.
There you go. All right, Sean Noonan up next. Hey, Mike, always look forward to your show. If you could pick any mid-carder from the Attitude Era or the Hogan Era that would be elevated to a main event guy nowadays, who would you pick? For me, I think it would be either Ken Shamrock or Mr. Perfect. Is there a guy that stands out to you from back in the Hogan days or the Attitude days that you think, hey, this guy coulda, shoulda been a major star?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Perfect, definitely one of them. Ken Shamrock could have been, yeah, definitely. And Owen Hart, I would say. I want to say like Owen Hart, you know. Um, yeah, there's probably, I mean, I want to say even Texas Tornado, you know, Kerry Von Erich.
There you go.
What a great build, what a great look, good worker, you know, and even with his condition, you know, I think he could have been definitely a top guy.
Yeah,
Definitely.
pushed and promoted the right way. He had
Yeah,
all the other characteristics ready.
right. I mean, he had the looks and everything. He was a Texas boy and came from a huge, big wrestling family in
Yeah.
Texas. And yeah, I mean, I think Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich could have been one of them guys too. You know, and I mean, well, Dino Bravo, he was more of a hype. When he came in, he was more of a top guy almost when he came in, but he became a mid card guy after a while, you know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like
they put Jimmy Hart with him as the mouthpiece. That was
right,
always going to be a
right.
challenge, I think, charisma
Yeah,
wise.
true, true.
So, okay. No, good stuff. Mr. Perfect is one that shows up on a lot of people's lists. Rick
Yeah.
Rude is another one that's
Oh,
talked
Rick
about
Rude,
quite a bit.
yes. Right. Rick Rude too,
Yeah.
yeah. Definitely. Rick Rude, who else are we thinking? Jake was always a top guy. He was always up there in the top, you know.
It's just different because
Uh,
back in the Hogan era, if he wasn't holding the belt, no one
right.
else really did for too long.
Yeah. Jake was a mid card guy after a while,
Think of
wasn't
all those superstars we think of in the 80s that were never WWF champions.
he? Right, right.
Roddy
Never.
Piper,
Yeah,
Mr.
right.
Wonderful Paul Orndorff. I mean,
Oh
you could
yeah.
just go through the list.
Yeah. I would even like see like somebody like Paul Roma
Oh,
or Hulk
wow. There's a name.
Hogan. You know, he was
Yeah.
always a great build and all that other stuff.
Was
You
he
know,
cool, though? Was he like a good guy behind the stage,
Paul
too?
was cool with me. I don't know if he got
Oh,
along. He was cool with me. I like Paul.
well, maybe
He,
that could have been. At least he was cool with you, but
he was that New Yorker type guy. You know, he was a good dude. Paul
all right.
Roman was a good dude.
Good stuff. Next up, Brett Stortenbecker. He says, I just watched the last Broken Skull session show with Randy Orton and noticed that you were the ref for the match she had with Mick Foley. Any memories of that match? Also, over the years, were there any talks that you would get an action figure? So let's answer the Randy Orton Mick Foley question first.
Yeah, that was when Randy was going into Mick Foley's world, which was a crazy world. Thumbtacks, this, that. I mean, it was just. I remember telling Randy, just get through this, brother. Just think of the payday. Think of the payday.
There you go.
He was like, "What the f?" He was like, "Oh my god, he's taxing." Like it was just, but it was just. It wasn't his type and style of a match, you know. So even at his age, when he was a lot younger then too, as well. And it wasn't his style, you know, but he had a hell of a match and he got through it. And I remember I was pulling like a ton of thumbtacks out of his back after the match.
And that stuff, when you talk about whether it's, real or fake, thumbtacks are real.
I know when I had a count, I remember swiping and cleaning the mat. You know, as soon as they would go for a pin, I'd swipe and clean the mat and then count. And I remember counting a couple times with tacks in my hand, like, because I'm hitting the mat real hard and I hit a tack or two.
Yes, that's true. Counting amongst the tacks.
And I'm only thinking like Randy's getting slammed and all this other stuff into these thumbtacks. And I'm going, Jesus Christ. I'm like, and I'm complaining.
Right.
I'm only thinking what Randy's going through. Mick Foley, I'm not worried about him because he does all that crazy
He's a human
stuff.
pincushion. Yeah.
The stuff he used to do used to amaze me, you know?
Unbelievable. It's just like the tolerance to pain is off the charts. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I love the Mick Foley, the Mankind gimmick, the whole, you know?
What about
the Dude Love?
Yeah, Dude Love. That was when he took a little bit of the break from the hardcore.
Right.
What about a second question? Brett says about an action figure. Was there any talks of you getting your own action figure?
Man, I wish I could get an action figure, but maybe we'll see what happens. But
hey, there's guys out there that do customs, so maybe somebody listening to this wants to take a stab at a custom Chioda. That would be sweet.
Well, bring that question up again next time, and I'll show you the action figure my wife got me.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, there's only one of them.
You've got one of one, so man, that thing is yeah, it's so valuable.
Yeah, let's remember that question next time, and I'll show them.
All right, I'm gonna as I go through these, I'm actually gonna highlight one so I do. All right, Michael McClanahan, our buddy and top guy, says, what impact Does Mike and Paulie B believe the WWE going public had on the way the company ran its operation? Does Mike believe there was ever a time the company ventured too far from its wrestling roots that were established in the 80s? So what do you think that public, I mean, obviously in terms of they want to grow and make money, and they have to do that. Maybe the PG-14 era has to fade away a little bit. I don't know. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I mean, the PG era had to fade away because you had to go into like certain countries, and certain countries wouldn't put that violence on their TV.
Yeah.
Whether it was China and some other countries and Japan and so forth. But a lot of these countries made changes, like they don't want to show blood on TV and stuff like that. So yeah, we went to, kind of PG, rated R. I'd say the Attitude Era was almost like a rated R.
It was like that PG-13 to R crowd, yeah.
The R crowd, and then
Yeah.
we toned it back after that after so many years. But I'd rather have the rated R era, a rated R show, because that's what sells, man. It's going to be TNA, tits and ass,
And violence, yeah.
and violence, and that's what sells. Good stories really don't sell too good. So I mean,
the popcorn and cotton candy only get you so far. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if AEW is going that route too, man. They're doing a lot of
they're doing, I feel like, a balancing act, but they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they had just thumbtacks. Two women have this ridiculous match.
I know, juicing all over the place and bleeding. And I was like, whoa, all right, yeah, no, those women had a fantastic match.
Agreed.
But yeah, so I mean, I would like to see it go back to rated R. I mean, and you can tone it down a little bit for the kids and stuff like that, of course.
Yeah.
But you see the stuff on TV today. I'm like, holy shit, this is on NBC, this is on CBS.
That's right.
They show all this crazy stuff,
language and everything. Yeah.
Language, and what they show on TV today. I'm like, oh my Lord, this is on 8 o'clock at night, or
Yeah, at least either that, or maybe consider one of the many shows that WWE does more of, hey, this is the more intense, violent show, right? So you can still have an audience and help them. And I think I guess they maybe think that's what NXT is to a small degree. I don't know, but it definitely isn't as cheesy as some of the other stuff. So do you think though that that had an impact as far as when they went public? Because when they went public, I think that was in the Austin era.
I think we went public because I remember Linda calling me up and gave me she gave me 30,000 shares, like 2,000 shares for each year I was there. And I think I was there 15 years at the time.
Nice.
So Linda called up Tony Chimla and I, and appreciated that very much. And we got the call. We were at the warehouse working. And I said, hey, did you get a call? And he was like, yeah. He was like, from Linda? I said, yeah. I said, did you get stock? So we checked on it. At that time, in a few days, it was worth like over $1 million.
Wow.
And then it was like, well, you can't touch it for like 6 months to a year or something like that. You couldn't do anything. So you couldn't sell it. You couldn't touch it. But yeah, I still got some of them shares left. So
I was wondering if you still held on to any of them.
Yeah, I sold 15,000, still got 15,000 left. So
there you go. So you keep an eye on that stock price then.
Yeah. Yeah. I always said, as long as little children and kids grow up and they become 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they turn into 9 and 10, a lot of them they get into wrestling, it's just, and everybody's going to have kids, and kids are going to keep growing older, and some kids will go out of it. Some kids won't, but I always thought that the stock market would do pretty fair well later on in the years. Yeah. It's done pretty good. So
that's good, man. That's good.
But there was a time that Vince didn't want, I think he really didn't wish he was in the stock, because he really had to please the shareholders and these big investors and stuff like that. There's times I wish he never went public, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because he could do what he wants.
That's right. Because he's the buck stops with him.
Exactly.
All right, good stuff. Michael would go on to say, has Mike ever refereed something other than professional wrestling, such as MMA? If so, how is it similar? How is it different? If not, is there another sport Mike would like the opportunity to ref?
Probably either like boxing Professional boxing, I would like to do
Okay.
something with that. Professional boxing, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember I've done mud wrestling in a bar one night.
You
That's for
refereed a
sure.
mud wrestling match?
In a strip club years ago.
Oh
So it
my
was pretty
God.
cool. Yeah. They gave me like 300, $500 or something like that. And it was like the local place down the road.
Where's that YouTube clip?
So, oh my God. Thank God that had to be somewhere in early 90s or something like that. So,
So you were
yeah.
still with the company at this point.
Oh yeah, yeah, but they didn't know anything about that. There was no social media getting out there, and
Cell phones recording
oh
everything.
right, I think we still had pagers and cell phones, like the flip phones and pagers at that time still. So
Mike
yeah, but,
Chioda
it was a
reffing a
lot of
mud
fun.
wrestling match.
Yeah, mud wrestling match at a strip club.
That's this week's nugget here on the mailbag.
It was fun.
All right.
Oh boy.
All right, we'll move quick here because I know you have to get off soon for your other podcast. Sean Cusack says during the Three Faces of Foley promo, Triple H is in the ring watching the jumbotron and acting upset with you, and you and he are exchanging words. When a wrestler kayfabe gets upset like that, are you guys having a kayfabe conversation as well, or are you just saying random nonsense to each other?
No, it's either random nonsense or something like that, or just kind of just talking bullshit. I mean, there's
But
a lot of
doing it with
times.
like a
Me
scrunched up
straight,
face.
exactly. And
That's
that's how
great.
I used to pass my cues, and that's exactly how I used to pass my cues. Like, I used to act like I'm getting into the wrestler's face or getting on him, and I'm passing a cue or passing the next spot onto him. So, because you couldn't just sit there and talk to the wrestler about, hey, hi,
Yeah, right.
do this, but you had to get on him and just give the mean look like you're getting on the talent or you're checking on him. And you're right, exactly. You're like, so I mean, it's a lot of nonsense. We talk a lot of BS in there between each other and
That's got to be
Carney.
fun. That's got to be fun. That's
Yeah,
to
back
me.
in the day, it used to be a lot of Carney in the ring, and it was
Yeah.
so funny because how the transition, you could tell when that business was turning over the years. And just recently over the years, you talk some Carney in the ring and they go, what are you talking about? What were you saying in there? I'm like, Fiazive, Ciazix, Ciazev, like giving them the cues in Carney. And they'd be like, oh, I didn't even know what you were saying.
I have no clue what you just said.
Well, I said 5, 6, and 7.
Oh, okay.
He is 5, C is 6, C is 7, E is 8, E is 9. So that's the kind of stuff you used to say to the wrestlers on TV before, so it wouldn't pick up what you were saying.
Clear as crystal. Yeah.
Yeah, if your voice was picked up, you wouldn't be just going 5, 6, or 8, 7, 6, 5. You'd say it in Carney. So just like you were confused, Paul, the
Yeah,
fans
that doesn't
were
take a lot.
confused, back in the day, but
Yeah.
nah,
All right, Eric Sedan says on the recent Broken Skull. Again, this is another Randy Orton reference from Broken Skull. He mentioned that in 2005 he missed the run through with the Undertaker match because he was too messed up from the day beforehand, and that you were there. Mike Chioda was there. Any memories of this? And has other talent done that on a regular basis to get themselves heat? So this was again Austin interviewing Orton. He mentions in 2005 he missed a run through with with Undertaker.
Yeah, he sure did. I remember that boy. Taker wasn't happy at all. I know that. But Randy was going through some issues at that time. He was going through a lot of problems, and I think those were one of the moments in his career that he finally said, "Look, I better get my shit together, or else,
Yeah,
I'm not moving forward in this business." And a guy with a great look like Randy Orton, good-looking guy, great build, phenomenal worker. So I mean, he turned his life around, and he really did. And I was glad to see that. So he's a good dude, good friend of mine. I like him a lot.
All right, awesome. Eric would also ask for any good Bill Alfonso stories.
All bar scenes, man. I love Bill. Fonzie was a great guy. Used to get a lot of bar brawls with Fonzie, not with him, but
together, tag team referee champions of the world.
Yeah, like I thought I used to run my trap, but Fonzie was always running his trap. He didn't give a shit. He'd tell somebody, like, boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, we're at it. It's like, Fonzie, slow down, shut that mouth.
Right.
Great guy though, man. A lot of fun with him over the years.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad nothing went too haywire, and you're still here with us to talk about it. So.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Brad Stanton says, were you there for Elimination Chamber in Philly last year? I think that might have been one of the last pay-per-views they did live. Yeah, he says it here. It was the last pay-per-view in front of a live crowd. And do you remember anyone talking about shutting down live events?
Yeah, they were talking about, let's go to the Philly. No, I would believe I was injured at that time. And I
Okay.
didn't do Philly because I got injured. I was out for a good 6-7 months with that rotator cuff and the bicep surgery. So I had 2 tendon tears. So I was out for quite a while.
Wow.
And yeah, I remember. I think that elimination because I would have loved to have been in Philly to see family in South Jersey, and been back in Philly, hometown. But yeah, I mean, the live events were talked about way before this pandemic that they were going to shut them down anyway, or keep them to a very minimum. So live events were kind of slowly fading out before the pandemic, way before the pandemic. There was a lot of talk about the live events. They just weren't, you run a live event, especially they would run a live event on Super Bowl. It would draw like $80,000.
Yeah.
You'd have all the talent out there. You have to pay all this talent. It was just like they were just doing live events, just I don't know, you wouldn't even make that much money off of them on the weekends. Weren't drawing that good. And I remember the worst one to have was on the Super Bowl Sunday. You'd have one at 1:00 on a Sunday, small town. I mean, everybody's preparing to watch the Super Bowl pretty much. And you'd have about maybe a couple thousand people there.
And you're there, you're doing it. And then what? You have to travel to the next town to even get to watch the Super Bowl?
You would always have to get the TV for Monday. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes you didn't get the chance to watch the Super Bowl, or you stayed in that town and woke up early in the morning to drive 4 or 5 hours the next morning. So.
Okay. All right. How are you on time? Do you have time for one or two more, or it's up to you?
Yeah, let's do one more.
One more. All right, here we go. This is from Chris Korbelik. He said, what was it like working for the WWE over your 30-year career? Did you feel you needed to walk on eggshells, being in fear of losing your job at any moment? It always seemed to me that was the vibe working for that company. So what are your thoughts, Mike?
It was a great run. Definitely 35 years, 31 years a referee. And I can't even complain about the phenomenal run I had with this company. With the WWE. And I mean, most wrestlers or referees didn't have the career I had. So I really don't know any wrestlers, that had a straight run for 30 something years, 35 years to 31 years in the business. I'm sure like Ric Flair and there's certain guys like that. But I can't, as a referee, just phenomenal career. And yeah, were there times you thought you were going to lose your job and you're walking on eggshells? Yeah, that's every company. That's everywhere. You're not going to get along with all this talent. You're not going to get along with certain people, or you're not going to get along with certain people in the office. But yeah, I mean, you always had to work, but you always make sure you just had to please the boss and the family. So if you did your job, you did it right. I mean, you had a job. So
yeah. Hey, and if anybody had longevity, it was you when you think of 30 plus years.
Right. And I can't complain. It's been one hell of a run with the WWE, that's for sure.
Well, Mike, this has already been one hell of a run, the Monday Mailbag Show. It's been just an awesome ride. I enjoy this every other week with you doing this. And sometimes I think to myself, are we going to run out of questions, or is Mike going to run out of golden nuggets stories to share? And you always deliver, man.
All right, cool. Thank you, Paul. You're always coaching me through this, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Well, listen, hey, we appreciate all the support. Again, for all of you on ad-free shows, please continue to post your questions, your comments. We want to hear from you. So add them directly under this post, and we'll make sure we get to it. We appreciate all the support here on ad-free and for the Mailbag with Mike Chioda. As I said at the top of the show, just one of the best events and the best shows that we have here with tremendous feedback. And so, Mike, again, appreciate you and all you do. Again, ProWrestlingTees.com is where you can support the man. So go out and buy those T-shirts. I know that it helps him out quite a bit. That third man in the ring, that design is out there. That's the official shirt for this show, and would really appreciate you picking one up.
Paulie, you're the man, man. I appreciate all your time, man, and thanks for all the top tiers listening to our show.
All right, Mike. Have a tremendous week, and we will talk to you again soon. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you, Paul.